Hey everyone, it's Cyrus from Gempacked, and I'm going to show you how to wire wrap today with head pins and ball pins. Head pins and ball pins are basically just pieces of wire that are cut to specific lengths, and they either have a flat head or round ball at the end. This is only going to take a couple steps to get to the finished product, so let's get to it. Head pins have two main dimensions, length and thickness. The first thing we need to check is the length you will need to complete your wire wrap. The length you need depends on the size of your bead and how comfortable you are with wire wrapping in general. If you're a beginner and not very confident with wire wrapping, I'd suggest using head pins that are a little bit on the longer side to make sure you have enough room to work. Once we know the length that we're working with, we can select the gauge. Obviously, the head pin has to fit into the hole without falling through. If the head of the pin falls through the bead hole, you need to use a bead cap to increase the width of the bottom. If you need to choose between two sizes that both fit, it comes down to your design and personal preference for what works best. For example, if you're working with a pennant on a very dainty chain, I would suggest using a thinner gauge and vice versa. Here are the tools you'll need. You'll need one round nose plier, one flat nose plier, and a wire cutter too. Selecting the size is actually the hardest part. Once you have that taken care of, the actual wire wrap is relatively easy. I ended up using these 22 gauge 2-inch head pins. It's a little bit longer than I need, but it's easier to demonstrate. And I chose the 22 gauge because it's thicker and the head is not going to go through the bead. I don't want to use a bead cap. I don't think it looks very good for this. Now I'm going to use my round nose plier and I'm going to start to bend back the head pin a couple millimeters above the hole. This is to leave a little bit of space for the coil. Now this is the important part when you're wire wrapping for things like earrings. You have to remember where on the round nose you're bending your loops so that your next wraps will be the same size. So I'm just going to do it about a quarter of the way up here. Okay, so I just bend it back. And then... Alright. I bent it back too much. Okay, so that's better. Now, looks good to me. If I want to change it, I can still do so. I can just bend it back and, maybe make some more room, straighten it out a little bit, whatever. I can do that right now. But as soon as I wrap this end around, there's no going back. I'm going to have to use a new head pin. But I actually kind of like this. I think this is going to be fine. So I take my flat nose. I'm going to grab the top of the loop. I take my other plier. I'm only using my left hand to do the work. I'm not actually twisting it with my right hand right now. Coil it around like that. Okay. So I went 2 times. I made 2 coils, and the number of coils is it's really up to you. I'm using a thick gauge, so I don't need as many coils for it to be safe. But if you're using a thinner gauge, probably 3 coils is good. Now I'm going to end it where the third one would have begun, so it's nice and even. You can see the 2 here. This is where the third one would begin. And take my wire cutter. And I mentioned this in previous videos. You don't actually need to cut it. It actually reaches farther that way, so I'm just going to leave a mark and then bend it back and forth, and there we go. It's nice and even. I can use the flat nose just to kind of tuck it in a little bit more, but it's good to go. It's fine the way it is. And that's it. I'm going to just show you again really quickly because it's good to just see it again. Like if I'm a matching wire wrap for earrings, I want them to look the same, right? I want it to match, so I'm just going to show you how to do that really quick. Same steps. Thread the head pin through. Now remember how I said about a quarter of the way? Try to remember that spot and then get about the same spacing here as we did the first time. So that looks good to me. Okay, so now I'm going to make the loop. I'm just going to check it really quick right here before we coil the second wrap. I'm mostly looking at the bottom of the bead and the top of the wire wrap to make sure that they match up. We don't really need to worry about the wire wrap part too much since we used our little trick to make sure that the loops are the same size. So this looks pretty good. The size of the loop matches, and the overall height from the bottom to the top of the loop is pretty close. So this is good to go. Flat nose. Grab the top of the loop and grab the end of the wire. And again, we're going to go 1 and 2. Everything looks good. I'm going to cut it where the third coil would have begun. With my wire cutter, just leave a little mark. There we go. Put it on the lever back just to show you how the final product comes out. Looks pretty good, right? This kind of technique all comes down to a few simple tricks. Once you have a method to keep everything even, matching your wraps becomes much easier, and if you practice at it, it'll become automatic. So try this out. I hope this helped you, and let us know what you think in the comment section. If this video was helpful for you, subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Instagram and Facebook for more jewelry related fun and more helpful tips. Thanks for watching.